Okay, so we got an hour. Is there anything specific that you would like to learn about or understand from an astrological perspective?
It's been a lot of self-reflection and self-working on here lately. So I don't really I just felt drawn to it. I like as far as synchronicities and stuff happening and getting, I listened to the Levertard show, and that's sort of where heard you talk about the astrology and that side, and
Yeah.
really got interested. And then I listened to all your different podcasts there, and as you go through and talk about the different um, houses and people and stuff, I just start to be able to see, like, oh yeah, these are other people in my family and life and stuff, and sort of trying to be able to fit those into those type of houses, I guess, of that
Yeah.
um, nature. So
So
that's
one of the things that jumps out when I look at a chart are certain themes. Okay. Because I know if there's a theme when I look at a chart, this two-dimensional, diagram, if there's something that is like jumps out to me, very often it's something that is significant in someone's life. Right. And before I go into the themes that are speaking to me, um kind of want to start so that we're speaking the same language. Okay. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions, kind of spiritual questions, because the kind of astrology I do, I consider it spiritual astrology.
Mhm.
So if we're not speaking the same language relative to uh why are we here, then it creates some kind of miscommunication. So
Right.
starting point is a big question, but just do you have a sense of like, why are we here? Why are you here? Like, what do you got?
Why am I here? I feel like I'm here to do good, to be able to push light and goodness out there. From a age of like 5 and 4, I remember riding in the car and seeing a homeless person, like, I got this granola bar here, I don't need this, let me give this guy on the side of the road here. And not really fostering that, and sort of you get into those patriarchal systems of how people want you to be. And I always felt like I was fostered that in growing up, but it was always fostered towards a business sense. But I've always got DWIs, and it pushed me back into helping and having that requirement of going doing that, and that sort of got me on the path of being able to want to do that more hand, and feeling really fulfilled from going and doing that.
All right,
um,
perfect. That's perfect. That's all I needed to hear. So from that perspective, the chart, the idea of wanting to do good. Okay, and if we think about, I'll use a football analogy. Okay, think about being on the football field, right? And I'm sitting there. I remember when I first started playing football, and I wanted to be good, right? I wanted to do good on the football field. Okay, and first day, we started doing different drills and deciding what position we want to play. Okay.
mhm.
And so part of that decision was looking at, okay, what do I feel that I'm good at? Like, what do I do well? And where might that give me the best opportunity on the football team, on the football field, to do well? Okay.
Right.
And I realized that I was fast. Okay. So position that needs speed. Okay. And then I realized I was tough and I could break tackles. And then I realized if I want to do well on the football field, maybe play in these positions. Okay. And if we find the right position that highlights our skills and our abilities, we increase the possibility that we can do good. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, and I'll keep with this example. Let's say that I decided, I didn't take into consideration what my skills were. I took into consideration that my dad was a lineman. Okay. And so I decided I want to do what dad did.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a lineman. Okay. And one of the things that I had to do was pull, I had to pull and get out in front of the running back. But I was so
So
fast that I
from
pulled out
football
in front.
myself,
I was
played in
so,
high school and played in college. I was an offensive guard, and I was a pulling lineman, so
yeah,
I certainly understand.
exactly. Yeah. And so in this situation, I was a little too small, but I was really quick. So I pulled out
Mm.
in front and did a good job. But it was too fast, and so the running back wasn't ready, and the play collapsed. So something that was my skill, because I was in the wrong position, right? It actually, uh, I was the I was the cause of the trouble, instead of
Yeah.
it was my fault. All right. So what a chart can help us do on a basic level is understand our own specific like gifts, skills, challenges, so that we can put ourselves in a position where we can do the most good. Right. That's high level, right? The way it actually tends to play out in everyday life is the figuring out process, because typically when we're young, right, and we start moving around, that our parents' job is to keep us safe. Okay. And so that really has little to do with helping us figure out what we're good at, right? What we're meant to be, what we're meant to do. And so part of the process is, and you mentioned it, patriarchal parents. Okay. We have to free ourselves from those parental, meaning parents, but also society, right? We have to free ourselves from those parental expectations first, right? And then hopefully we experiment and get a sense of who we are and what our skills are best suited for. And then as we mature, we put ourselves on the path to find meaningful work, to express our best in ways that are doing good. How's that sound?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right. And but a big part of the drama, because it's, to me, I feel like as an astrologer, I'm really a storyteller, because
Mhm.
life unfolds as these dramas, positive
Yeah.
dramas, right? The ups and the downs, like that's how life unfolds. And like all the movies and the plays and the stories, it's there's a character starts at a certain place with certain gifts, certain weaknesses, certain limitations,
Mhm.
and they go through certain experiences that help them improve, refine themselves, be better equipped. Yeah. Be better
Yeah.
equipped for what? To do good in the world. All right. That's the spiritual kind of trajectory that I think on. Right.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
yeah. So from that perspective, looking at a chart, we don't use an astrological chart to describe a person. We look at a chart to help someone uh, step into their own narrative, their own journey, and put into perspective the different dramas, ups and downs, highs and lows, right? The different anxiety producing thoughts, the excited, it just helps us put everything into perspective.
Yeah.
Um, so that we can connect it to some larger purpose. Because my thing is, as humans, we can tolerate, dare I say, enjoy anything if we can understand its purpose.
Mhm.
Training camp was hell, but when you can connect it to this is going to get me right so I can perform in the
Mhm.
season, then it starts to become more joyful. Oh, yeah. Okay, so all right, now kind of dive into themes. All right. So the way that I locate themes, one of the easiest ways is I look to where the sun is. Okay. Because as an astrologer, I know that there's 10 planets. There's a bunch of 12 houses, 12 signs. But most people coming into astrology, they only know what their sun sign is. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's valid because the sun, we can experience this. If we didn't have the sun, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. It provides warmth, it provides heat, it provides life, like the food that we eat, right? Whether if we're eating vegetables, it's just the energy that the plants have been able to transform from the sun. And if we're
Great.
eating meat, it's the energy that the plants transformed, that the animals transformed, that now we're eating. So the sun really is the source of all life. And even more so, all the planets, including Earth, right? The only reason we stay in the orbit is because of the sun's magnetic gravity. So it's important. Okay, it's important. So easy. Um, Next thing I'd look for is the moon. In the same way when the sun goes down, everyone, if you think of our ancestors, when the sun went down, the moon was The moon was the only electricity, you know?
Source of light, yeah.
Yeah. So if it was really important, you know, in the same way, right? Darkness, okay? And you think of daytime light, right? I look outside, I can see all the trees, the flowers. I know exactly what I'm looking at, exactly what I'm looking at, you know? And if I have
Yeah.
to walk, I just know exactly where to step. Okay. When the sun goes down and it's dark, okay, it's more a little more precarious. In the same way, you know, our outer identity, who am I, and the choices we make in the world, we can see more. But the feelings, the urges, the visions, the dreams, these things that are cooking on the inside are symbolized more by night. And we, you know, to survive the night, we have to be in touch with our moon. So the moon is our ability to navigate emotional interstates. Okay. And I'm saying that because typically someone who has a lot of air, more mental up in the head, okay, typically is not comfortable, typically, not always, not comfortable swimming in the waters of emotion.
That's a new thing for me. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
past in 3-4 weeks, I'd say.
Yeah, but it makes sense though, but because part of what I'm, you know, what I'm putting together is a purpose. What are you good at? Skills. What are you here to do? So one thing we've said is there's a lot of air. Okay. Air is
Yeah.
about, you know, being in the head, communication of ideas. So that's definitely important. Okay. We can't take that off the table. But in order to function in life, especially in relationships, okay, especially in relationships, we have to be in touch with our internal world, you know. And typically the way that our culture has trained us is that the relationships and the emotional stuff, that's the woman's job, you know. Going out in the world and doing all that stuff, handling, carrying big boxes, you know. That's the guy's job, right? So our
Yeah.
training, our training doesn't always help, you know.
Right.
Sometimes it overly strengthens part of ourselves and undernourishes other parts. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Okay. So I just, you know, I said that because the moon, as I'm talking about, the moon rules the night, is in, when you were born, was in the sign of Libra, which is the sign of relationships. Okay. Um, and it's in what we call an opposition to Venus over here, which is the planet of relationship. So in a, I'm not a negative person. Like I don't really judge things as right or wrong or good or bad, and so that frees me up to be able to use language that might be perceived that way. But so when we see an opposition, okay, the nature of an opposition, it means that these two planets, and planets represent inner urges, okay. One of the things planets represent are inner urges or types of thoughts. That's another thing that planets represent. When they exist in an opposition aspect, it means that our initial inborn relationship with these two urges is that they create separation from each other. And so it's a relationship. So, you know, you see the moon opposed Venus, someone is born with relationship issues.
Mhm.
And I mean, we all have relationship issues, but this is just the language that we would use. That this relationship issue, especially where it's located in the chart, is a major, becomes a major theme. Okay, so I'll give an example. What I'm saying, right? So, right, the opposition says that there's an opposition, right? There's some tension that needs to be worked out. Um, very much related to relationships. Okay. That's a general statement. Right? And I get that from the moon. Okay. This kind of the second loudest voice. And so, because this is, you know, in my judgment, important, I look up to the sun and think about, how would a ninth house Gemini sun either contribute to this relationship issue or help maybe support the relationship issue?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I'm not going into any details about the relationship issue, just saying that there's some relationship stuff that you're here to work on. Okay. And then I'm a ninth house Gemini. Okay, so so I know this one. Okay, and I have a similar relationship issue aspect of my chart. Okay, and so I'll tell a story, kind of. Okay, so it's a reminder that the chart is giving us information about what we're here to develop, which is a clue on what we're here to do. Okay. So it's instructive. Okay. Instructive. All right. When someone is born with the sun in Gemini, okay, the instructions from the chart or from the universe, just Gemini, is you need to have a lot of different experiences. Okay. Variety of experiences. Okay. Like one of the images I get for Gemini is like the need to taste. Okay. Right. Whereas you just need a taste of something. Okay. Right. Just to have the experience, to log it into the brain. Because Gemini is about learning to see what's really there. Right. But in order to see what's really there, we need a lot of data points. Okay. So it's about experience. Because ultimately Gemini is about the expressing of information, clarity. It has a lot to do with teaching. Okay. So, and communicating, right? And it's like, if we're here to communicate, in order to have something interesting to say, we have to have enough experiences so that we logged enough interesting experiences that when we talk, something interesting is coming out of our mouths. Okay. Right. So you can already see, especially in our culture, okay, relationship issues, and the guy needs a lot of adventure, a lot of experiences. All right. And then you add the ninth house. Okay. So houses are about behaviors, things that we do, things that, and because this is an instructive type of astrology, it's telling you, the Gemini says, okay, you need a lot of experiences. The ninth house is saying, what do you need to do to acquire those experiences? The ninth house is the house of adventure, the house of religion, the house of journeys overseas, right? It's about any activity that broadens our horizons. Okay. So ninth house sun in Gemini is really about the need to live multiple lifetimes in one, right? So the need for a lot of experience. Okay. All right. So again, the sun being the loudest voice in the chart, someone who needs a lot of experience, just think of, in general, relationships. Okay, relationships, and think of what kinds of relationships, what are the qualities, what is the nature of relationships that are going to support, right, the sun's mission. Because the sun is the source of our life and our vitality. So just in general in life, if we want to have energy and we want our lives to be expansive, we have to listen to what the sun says. And my sun, your sun, same place, says that we need experience. We need to explore. We need to go on adventures. Okay. And so in that context, thinking of what kinds of people, partners can help support that kind of life. That's a starting point. Okay. That's just the way I think. All right. So in the same vein, the natural form of this conversation, if I move from the sun to the moon is in Libra. Okay. So again, Libra is the sign of balance, okay, of relationship. Because if you think of the scales, okay, it's about taking two things that are different and trying to find out how they're equal. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds very much like relationship. Okay. Sounds very much like relationship, right? Especially between a man and a woman, because a man and a woman are so different from each other, right? And I'm sure you're married, so you've experienced this, right? Right.
I'm always wanting to like balance and just one order in these scales, and like that's like,
okay, but here's the thing with the moon. Okay, I mentioned the moon rules the night. Okay, and the nature of the night is it's hard to see. So in books, it'll say the moon rules our unconscious feelings. That's kind of accurate, but it is true that the moon is more below the level of consciousness because it's our feelings. And especially for a guy, for guys, right, we're trained really early on to bury our feelings. Okay. Okay. So this is the moon for guys typically tends to be more tricky. Okay. And even the books will say in a man's chart, the moon represents all the women in his life, because most of the way that we interact with our inner world, our feelings, is through women, because they tend to make us feel stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the moon. Okay. And based on astrological language, this moon is considered very strong. Okay. Because any planet in the first house is considered strong, because the first house is the house of our personality. It's how we it's our self presentation. Okay. And so the nature of the moon by itself, it's nurturing. Okay. The moon wants to nurture and protect, right? The moon represents our feelings. And so think of it as the people who, when we're around them, it's easier for us to sink into our feelings. Okay. Right. It's easier for us to sink into and express feelings. People who we don't know or we don't feel comfortable around, we tend to keep how we feel inside. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is why the moon is also related to family, because it's the people who we're familiar with who, when we're around, our guard comes down and the moon can come out. Right. The darker parts can come out. Okay. Softer parts can come out. All right. But when the moon is in the first house, okay, it's where we get the phrase, this person wears their heart on their sleeve. Okay. Right. And two things about this. One is, someone wears their heart on their sleeve. When you meet them, you know, you might feel like pretty soon, quickly after meeting them, you might feel very like their family, because they're warm, right? Because again, like I said, the nature of the moon is it hides. And so typically when we meet someone, we're more likely to get the cold shoulder when we first meet them. But when the moon is here, the emotion is more up front. Okay. And the emotion connected to Libra is the emotion of everything's good, right? Balance. Everything's peaceful. Everything is serene. Okay. And so the positive thing about Libra is that, it feels good to be around Libra people, because, right, they have this, especially the moon in Libra, this need for things to be good. Okay. So, so for instance, right, someone has a piece of food, I got a piece of food in my beard. Okay. Right. And Aries, might be like, hey, you got a piece of food in your beard. Right. Or they might even make fun of me and embarrass me, kind of, but someone with the Libra sensibilities, might pull me aside, right? Or might take a napkin and gently, they're going to take my feelings into consideration, because, right, they want everything to be smooth and to be good. Okay. So that feels good. Right. So the nature of Libra is it's attractive. Okay. Attractive. Um, and as far as the purpose of Libra, because everything has a purpose. So one of the purposes of Libra is to help us chill out, to help us relax. Okay. Because if we're too focused on one thing, or too sharp, or too focused on ourselves, okay, all right, we get tied in knots. Okay. When we're around things that remind us of the good things in life, people that remind us that, we're good, that we're okay, then we relax. Okay. Right. And the balance is part of the balance. Two people, right? You find someone to share the load. Okay. And it's easier. Okay. All right. The kind of the flip side of Libra is sometimes, life, there's some things in life where you have to experience discomfort and pain. Okay. There's sometimes that things need to be out of balance, because sometimes if they're too much in balance, right, there's stasis. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think
scale gets balanced the other way.
exactly. That's what could happen. It's that classic story of, I want things to be cool, so I sweep things under the rug. Right, sweep things. I want things to be cool, sweep. Right, they'll take care of themselves, and then everything builds, and then it blows up.
I go to these visuals, and that sweeping is really just sweeping it to one side of the scale, and to where that scale gets flipped, and then all of a sudden your mental is like, I'm losing it.
Yeah. There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So, and the other thing about the moon, right, kind of the heart on the sleeve is what I'm saying about the moon is a part of us that is most sensitive. Okay, sensitive, right? And so the thing about someone wears their heart on the sleeve, the heart is sensitive, and so it can sometimes be overly protective. Okay, and so in this sense, what the way it might look is sensitive to when things are out of balance. Okay, the CEO of one of my companies he's a Libra rising. He's got like you. He's got 2 planets in Libra, and when he walks into a room, he like automatically notices like what's out of place. You know, it's we make fun of him because it's funny, but on the same time, it's nice, right?
Yeah.
Because as long as he's not like beating us over the head about it, and he's like addresses it and makes it look prettier, then everyone wins. Okay, everyone
Yeah.
wins. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But if it's to the point where it's overly sensitive and he doesn't realize that it's overly sensitive, he would drive all of us crazy. So the thing to just be cautious of, just with my wife has a first house moon, is just sometimes the moon, because it's so sensitive, it can be like overly protective. It can be protect itself too much, right? It would be the sense of there's some kind of difficult situation, right? There's some kind of situation I need to enter where I have to go to war, right? I have to argue, I have to fight for something. But because I'm so sensitive to things needing to be balanced, I either find ways to weasel out of it, you know, sweep it under the rug, or just that sensitive reaction to things not being balanced and then avoiding it. Okay, that would be the dark side of this placement. Um, but the positive side and what the moon is really after is really about self-care. Okay, self-care. But a lot of it has to do with our relationship to our sensitivity. If we view our sensitivity as something that is scary to us, then we try to protect it or blot it out or pretend it's not there, and then it manifests unconsciously. If we realize this is where we're sensitive and we take care of ourselves, okay? For instance, like, the moon in Libra in the first, part of taking care of yourself is being very conscious of the people you choose to be around, right? Because we can get stuck in a pattern of being self-protective, but part of that pattern is attracting people who we need to protect ourselves against, right? So this idea of realizing that that balance is important, okay, then making sure you surround yourself with other people, especially because it's the moon, so it's family, right? You surround yourself with people who value peace, balance, grace, ease as much as you do.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I'm going to say that again because this theme is repeated, but from this perspective, it's coming from you, because the first house is about you. It's about choices you make. Okay. And so this idea of choices to only let people close to you, right, who respect that. Okay. The other thing is with the moon in the first, it's again, it's about choices. It's about once we are out of the self-protective place and in the self-care place, the moon can have a positive influence. And so the moon here is about learning to make choices based on what your heart is telling you, right? Choose love. We have I wrote this on my on the board upstairs, right? This idea of once the heart is open, free, unfettered, okay, it can be trusted. Okay, it can be trusted. And like this idea of trusting and moving in the direction of where there's more balance, more ease, more peace, more beauty. And that becomes like a tool for making choices. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the ability to trust your ability to recognize. When I say balance, beauty, peace, these all mean the same thing, right? The scientists have recognized what people say is attractive is symmetry. Okay, when things are balanced, they're easier for us to take in, and so we requires less energy, and so it gives a pleasing experience. Okay,
Yeah.
this is what I'm referring to. So like learning to trust that ability to know, and then at its highest, it's always knowing the right thing to do. Okay, because right, that place where everyone wins, Okay.
Mm.
Right. And you have the inner ability to perceive that kind of beauty and balance. Okay. But you gotta, like, again, open the heart and clear the fetters, clean it up a little bit. To be able to trust the sensitivity, right? Because if you just even thinking emotions and balance, right? Those things kind of even hard, hard for them to make sense, right? You realize that it takes some time.
It's been something I always pushed towards, is like, well, the pursuit of happiness and like being happy.
Yeah.
And like it's been just recently this past month that I like sadness is good, and being able to sit with sadness and like not pushing it away. Because if you're not able to sit there and be in sadness, then how can you enjoy and appreciate happiness?
Yeah, so that's more of exactly what I'm talking about. It's what you just did is you tied together the scales, right?
Yeah.
That what we're taught about happiness, right, is this false kind of fantasy thing, right? But the
Mhm.
truth is, to have true happiness, we have to invite everyone else. We have to invite everyone to the party.
Yeah.
You can't have happiness by saying, no, you're not allowed. No, you're not, right? Those parts are always going to be off, throwing rocks and messing up the happy party. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had a big tearful moment watching that movie Inside Out with the
Yeah.
kids the other day. And like, oh, this makes so much sense.
That's exact. So you can think inside out, the analogy I use often, the planets are like each of those different voices.
Yeah, cool.
Different characters, each of the planets. It really is like that. And so speak right here, we'll get to the opposition. Okay. So the moon is the planet of domestic thoughts or domestic urges. Okay. And what I mean by domestic urges, I mentioned it briefly, the urge to protect and to nurture. Okay. Our home, our house, also recovery, right? It's like after you have a hard day out in the world, people who don't really get you, and then you come home, right? Ideally, right? You walk into home and it's like, like
Yeah.
love, right? It's like we recover, right? And then we can go back out and do it again. Okay.
Mm.
That's why the moon is the key to happiness, because if our home life is good, if we're taking care of our domestic urges, okay, then we're going to be good, right? And for you, the moon in Libra, the domestic urges require another person, okay, another person, right? So the planet, okay, the urges about others we call social urges, okay, and this is the planet Venus, okay. So this takes us directly to the heart of it, right? In astrology, we have a saying, we say that planets rule signs. And what it means is that there's a resonant energy between certain signs and planets. And the planet that rules Libra, okay, is Venus. Is Venus. So the domestic urges, the moon, conditioned by social urges, by the need to connect, okay? The scales, okay? Again, like you need other people, right? It's funny. It's like sometimes we make that a negative thing, right? Someone can't
Yeah.
be alone, right? But the truth is, for you to find happiness in this lifetime, you need other people, okay? Scales, right? If you only have one,
Yeah.
you can't do the balancing act. Okay. So you need others. So that tells us that Venus is going to be very important in this chart, because it's going to tell us who your ideal part, who the other. It's going to give us the description of the other, right? The qualities that the other need to embody for you to get the most out of relationships. Okay. That's one angle. The other angle is your ascendant, right? Your rising sign. After the sun and the moon, the rising sign is the most powerful symbol, because like I said about the first house, the rising sign is the beginning of the first house. It's about our self-presentation. It's the mask we wear. Okay. In a positive sense, if we're comfortable in our skin and the mask we wear, we attract to ourselves the experiences that we need to have. If we're uncomfortable, or we've received some faulty training about the energy of our ascendant, then we tend to struggle and we tend to attract things that don't always feel good to us. Okay. So again, the nature of Libra is that it's attractive. Okay. It's attractive. So the idea is your ideal mask or uniform is one that's warm and inviting. Okay. It like You know, that because the ascendant are the vibes we give off. Okay. And so it's like when you walk into a room, whether you're aware of it or not, you walk into a room and everyone just likes you. Okay. Everyone likes you. Right. They might not even know why. Okay. But this is just the vibe of Libra. Okay. And we might think that that's a positive thing, but right.
I always
Okay.
thought it was like I thought that there was something wrong with me. Like everyone was looking at me like I had some sort of fifth arm growing up, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that everyone hated me. Like I honestly did, and it was that they were looking at me and really liking me. And
Yeah.
apparently,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So the ascendant is more of like it's about our act. You know, it's funny. I've been studying this for a long time, but it was just this past week where it kind of clicked. It kind of clicked what the ascendant was. You know, so I did a Instagram live with a friend of mine, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And there was an audience until I kind of realized I was talking to an audience. And so she
yeah,
would ask me a question, and when she asked me a question, I could see I could observe my mind organizing what I was going to say and how I was going to say
yeah,
it. And that's the ascendant. It's the act we put on, and it's superficial, but it's not in a negative sense. It's superficial because it's like our skin is superficial, right? We need it. We need it, right? It serves as a barrier between our inner world and the outer world. Okay. And so the more we can like be more conscious in our act, right, we can take ownership of the things that we attract to ourselves. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'm saying this because the ascendant is very important, because it gives us the vibe or the energy of that you put out, and thinking of how can I utilize this energy? How can I create an act, a character, okay, that feels good to me? That feels good to me. Okay.
yeah.
And to get more information, we look to the planet that rules the sign on the ascendant. Okay. So you're a double Libra, meaning the rising sign and the moon are in Libra. Okay. This energy is very strong. Right. And so now Venus becomes a very important factor. Okay. Because we've been talking about balance and feeling good. Right. But Venus is the planet that tells us what actually feels good to us. Okay. Right, from the inside, because the world tells us what's supposed to feel good to us, but each of us have our own internal feel good receptor. Okay. And we call that Venus. Okay. And feeling good, you know, the way I've talked about it is feeling good, but it's also the sense of what feels good is that something releases stress. Okay. And this is a big part of Venus, right? When we hear we hear a song that we really like, or we see a beautiful piece of art, or we see someone that we really like, right? We have this expectation that things are going to get better. And so stress goes, okay? Right? And so again, just repeating this, Venus, ruler of Libra, it is responsible for, in general, okay, what is going to bring us back to balance? What's going to bring us back to equilibrium? What's going to help us calm down? Right. All right. Which is people, places, and things, right? Certain objects, certain songs, certain people. Okay. But the Venus says what quality, what's the sign of Venus? What quality are they, do these things contain, right? What quality do we need to help us relieve stress? All right. So Venus in Aries is the quality that you need to relieve stress is stress. Yeah.
That goes to the polar opposites of my chart here. It looks like everything is
well, right. This is why I said relationship issues, because it's an issue because it's something that requires subtlety. Okay. One way to say it really requires learning the art of intimate conflict. All right, because relationship, as I've said, is important. Okay. But what you're learning in relationship, okay, is how to be courageous, right? How to deal with difficulty, right? Aries is the sign of the warrior. Okay, the athlete, the competitor, the pioneer, right? So it requires the ability to feel the fear and do it anyway. Okay, feel the fear and do it anyway. And so I have my Venus in Aries too, and for me, I did the avoid thing for so long. Okay, that any like fiery women or women that would call me on my shit, I ran the opposite direction. Right, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to deal with those things. Okay, and as I matured and realized if I don't have those in my relationship, then I go outside of the relationship to get it. Okay, and especially in Aries, it's fiery, it's passion. Okay, it's passion, but passion is great, right? It's great in the relationship, right? Or is it? Okay, sometimes we get passionate because passion is we get angry about something, right? Something we feel really strongly about that we know our partner feels really strongly about in the opposite direction, right? Right. And then when you have that conversation and your heart starts beating really fast, okay? This is Aries, okay? One way to think of Aries is anything that gets your heart beating fast, okay? Right? This kind of heat, right? This kind of fire. This is what Aries is about. And this is what you're learning to embrace in relationship, and this is the key to peace, the key to all the good things and the pleasure, okay? So like again, I have this placement in my chart, very very similar. And the conversation is more intense. Well, yours is pretty intense too, but intense because we're intense guys. Okay, so so if you're not an intense person, where you get upset about something, it's whatever. But when you really are an intense person and you really tap into that fire, it's scary. Okay, it's scary. And so a big part of this is making sure you find partners. Okay, maybe they had older brothers, right? Or had dad with anger issues, but they're comfortable with it. Like my first wife, whenever I get a little bit like heated, passionate, right? She couldn't function. Like she could not function. We couldn't have a conversation. And so I had to train myself, tone it down in relationship. And so I had to go outside of the relationship to find that heat and that expression, right? But she grew up in a household where she was coddled, right? No one ever yelled, and when they did, it's like the world was over. Okay, my my current wife, she was raised around a stepdad who kind of yelled all the time, and so she didn't necessarily like it, but she doesn't have such a strong negative reaction to it. So there's more room in our relationship for this energy. Okay, but again, she was trained in America too, so couples don't yell at each other. Okay, right? You got Venus and
I
Aries.
think you call it trained in America.
Yeah, you have Venus and Aries. Like you want to be in a relationship where you don't raise your voice. Good luck. Good luck. Okay, right? Good luck, because the chart is saying what you need to learn in relationship is how to handle that heat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if you avoid it, the relationships are always going to be lacking, and you're not ever going to have peace, because always avoiding it, you're always afraid of when's it coming, right? When's it, like it was this feeling of every time I come in the house, like she is like, is everything good today or is it not? Like always being in this constant state of like, is there going to be peace or is there not? Right? Because if you avoid it, then it's always there lurking. Okay, but if we're ready, if we're willing to again, because it's partnership, right? This is all about partnership, right? The agreement is like, we're doing this together. This is what I tell my wife. I say, listen, right? With this warrior energy, this Aries energy, and with Venus, right? It's about two people coming together, and there's heat, and sometimes there's blood. Okay, do we want to be like fighting against each other, or do we want to be fighting side by side with each other? Okay, so part of it is finding something that you and your friends, you and your partners can attack, can go after together, right? Then it takes the energy of partnership, peace, and balance, and it utilizes this Aries energy because we're doing something. Okay, and Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. Okay, where's the passion? Okay, Mars tells us where's the passion. Okay, I mentioned earlier traveling together. Okay, right, studying things together. Okay, it's like the passion here in Gemini. The passion needs a lot of new experiences, adventure. Okay, a passion for understanding, okay, for connecting the dots, a passion for learning. So the other thing about Venus and Mars, love, relationship, and passion, okay, that I've become more aware of in general. What I've been on this love kick, lately, and realizing that the power of love, okay, is it helps us get over ourselves, right? When we really care about someone, we really love someone, okay, that certain things that we would never consider doing, like we want to do almost because if it's going to make the other person happy, right? And so it's a way, like love is this special like nectar, right? That helps us get over ourselves. Um, and so thinking about like, you know, relationships in general, like, you know, specifically with Aries and Mars, right? Is it's like, what am I afraid of? Okay, because the whole point of courage is it helps us deal with the things that we're afraid of. Right? What am I afraid of? And I need more courage, more fire, okay, that a partner can bring. Okay, right? That gives you a lot of information about what to expect in relationship. And then when you get the partner where there's heat, fire, and passion, right? You got somewhere to put it. Okay, you got somewhere to put it. Because if there's nowhere to put it, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So and where do I want to go next? So I think I'm gonna go. There's more relationship symbolism. I think I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go. I feel like I'm spinning a wheel. I'm gonna go talk about the South Node. Um, Actually, I'm not. There's not enough time. We'll do that next time. I'll talk about the Neptune in the fourth. Okay. Yeah. So sorry, I'm gonna say one more thing about this Mars. This idea of so the ninth house, again, the houses are about behaviors. Signs are about um what the behaviors are trying to accomplish. What's the end goal? Okay. And so for Gemini, the end goal for Gemini is an open mind. Okay. And Gemini is very much about shocking the senses. Okay. So it's, and I like talking about Gemini in the ninth house because they go well together. Meaning, someone grows up and they grow up in a white family in Alabama. Okay. And just in a small town. And so just because of the nature of their early environment, okay, they have certain opinions about Black people. Okay. Just that Black people are not as intelligent. And that's just because that's just what they hear. Okay. And then they get to high school and they're in class and there's like the smartest kid in class is Black. Okay. And like the first couple of days of class, this kid is like, right, cognitive dissonance. I don't get it. I don't understand. This doesn't make sense. Okay. This is the Gemini feeling, right? Of like confusion, right? One of the things that Geminis have to master is they have to master tolerating confusion, because confusion is that gap between old information and new information. Okay. And this is what Gemini is all about, new information. Okay. In the ninth house, new information triggered by exploring. So journeys overseas, it just meant when you went on a long journey, you ended up in a different culture and they did things differently, right? So it's that effect of when we travel or even if we, go to Little Italy, right? We just go to a place where the rules are different, right? It's not, we're getting new experiences, but these are new experiences where a lot of times we don't even have a reference point. Okay. So the nature of the ninth house are things that expand our reference points. Okay. I remember when I traveled overseas, I went to Europe for the first time, and it was little things like the way the crosswalk symbol was, and I was like, wow, there's more ways to do things than the way we do things back home. And it just got my mind thinking, like, what other kind of rigid structures am I trying to live under? And then my mind just kept expanding the more I traveled, because I it just sunk in more deeply. Wow. Right. Okay. And so also studying, right? So the ninth house rules higher education, because people go to graduate school, they start studying different philosophies, right? Different systems of ways to look at things. Okay. This is the ninth house. Okay. And wherever Mars is, it's where we need courage to be able to, right? That we might have some trepidation or fear. We need courage to be able to do that. Okay. Mars in the ninth, the courage to go on intellectual adventures. Okay. All right. Right. So again, thinking about partners. Okay. Partners where you go on intellectual adventures. Okay. And hopefully there's some fiery debates. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. 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 That's it. Okay. So this Jupiter keeps calling my name. All right. So Jupiter is the planet of good luck. Okay. And I said planets represent urges. Jupiter is considered the religious urge. What that means, our need to believe in something greater than ourselves. Yeah. And it's it's our need to say yes to life. Okay. Jupiter rules the ninth house. Okay. So Jupiter is the planet of the ninth house, planet correlated to the ninth house. Because again, as we go and we explore and we broaden our horizons, our intuition, our faith is going to be more spot on. Okay. Right. The little kid who was taught, that all black kids are dumb. Okay. That's what he believes. Okay. And he's gonna like create his life based on that. But as he goes to not only to middle school and he sees, oh, that's not true, but he goes to college and he goes beyond, he spends some time in Africa, he's like, whoa, right? That's really not true. Okay. His whole worldview is different, right? And typically Jupiter, good luck. If we have a larger worldview, we encompass more information, right? We're gonna have better luck. Okay. When we take our shot, all right, it's gonna hit the bullseye more often than not. Okay. But in the same vein, okay, if someone hasn't explored or had enough adventures, right? They still have faith, they still have a belief system, and they still need to take their shot. Okay. And so when Jupiter is not functioning well, and when Jupiter, we take our shot and we miss. Okay. We miss. The fifth house and Jupiter both correspond to gambling. Okay, gambling. And if you think of gambling as like gambling is taking your shot, right? Even if it's not, rolling the die or playing cards, even when we use it in more colloquial language, right? I took my shot. Okay, I took my shot, right? Realizing that we need faith. Okay, we need faith in something. We take our shot, and if our faith has been tested and it's strong, we take our shot and we hit it a lot of the time. Okay. All right. We hit it a lot of the time. If we take our shot and we haven't practiced, we haven't studied, we're just taking our shot to take our shot, right? We're going to miss. And that can be very wasteful. Okay. Very wasteful. All right. This is Jupiter. And the positive side, the ancients called Jupiter the greater benefic. And they said, if Jupiter is doing well in your chart, everything is going to be fine. Okay. And you'll see people that have strong Jupiters, right? Somehow things always work out for them. Okay. People that are doing well with their Jupiter, it doesn't even matter the details. Things just always tend to work out for them. Okay. Right. Someone who's not doing so well with their Jupiter, right? They might have big hopes, big dreams, but right, nothing seems to work out. Okay. And at its worst, okay, Jupiter is the planet of pride goeth before the fall, right? Where we think everything's gonna, we know everything is gonna work out, and then we missed the details because we had too much faith. Okay.
Yeah.
And so Jupiter is the planet of excess. Okay. And Jupiter in the fifth house. The fifth house is the house of children, love affairs, creative self-expression. Okay. It's all the pleasure, right? So Jupiter in the fifth, okay, is tricky. It's tricky, okay, because energy in a chart cannot be created nor destroyed. Okay. It can only be changed in form. And so I mentioned earlier, I think a part of life from a spiritual perspective is refining all of these energies. But in order to refine them, we have to wrestle with them. Okay. And sometimes there's energies that we've wrestled with in the past and they beat us up. Okay. But those energies don't go away. Right. And if we avoid them, right, they just beat us up unconsciously. Okay. But if we move towards them, realizing that, it's like taking a bull by the horns or taming, this feels like taming a wild horse. Okay. Taming a wild horse. Right. This is a big energy, Jupiter in the fifth. Right. One way to say it's the need to have a good time, to believe in having a good time. Okay. And when you put it in Aquarius is the sign of, it tends to bring things that are unconventional. Okay. And it requires experimentation. Okay. And the nature of experimentation is you experiment, sometimes it's going to blow up. But you keep experimenting and you're going to, you have the potential to locate some kind of genius. Okay. Right. In the same way, in this experimentation, it's the myth of Aquarius of, we're all, in order to get buy-in for our parents and our family to take care of us, we have to, on some level, agree to their myth, their story. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Regardless of how closely it aligns to ours. Okay. And eventually we have to break free of their story and find our own. Okay. In the areas of life where we have to do that, we're going to see planets in the sign of Aquarius. Okay. So one way, is you need to experiment with beliefs around pleasure, around joy. Okay. And specifically, Jupiter is a planet of religion. Okay. So really looking at, what was the belief system of the family of origin around these issues. Okay. And that in order for you to find your own belief system, right, it's going to require some experimentation. And so part of experimentation, okay, the first stage for Aquarius is I have to break free from the limitations put on me. Okay. That's part of it. And some people can't do that, right? The pressure of the parental voice is too strong that they can't break free. So they have these inner rebellions in their minds. Okay. Some people can break free. Okay. They break free, right? I'm not, I questioned authority. I'm not believing what my parents believed. But some people get stuck there, right? It's a rebel without a cause. Okay. The next stage is you got to experiment. Okay, try this and try this and try this and try that until you find, oh, this is it. This is it. This is my thing. Okay. And then move in that direction. Because ultimately, Aquarius wants to bring into existence something that's never existed. Okay. And it's like all of us on some level, right? We have some unique idea, perspective, something to offer that's never existed. But in order to bring it to existence, we have to individuate. We have to have our own unique experience. So this new thing has enough power to go into the world and make something better. Okay. And again, we don't have time, but this Jupiter is in the past, okay, based on the chart, has become problematic. Right. Attitudes about pleasure, appetites, etc. I know you mentioned rehab, fifth house and Neptune. These are the two symbols that are most correlated there. One, and it's not negative from an astrological perspective. It's just realizing that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It has to go somewhere, and our culture does not prepare us to deal with spirituality, with sensitivity, and especially religion doesn't prepare us on how to handle pleasure. Okay, so much of joy, feeling good, so much of religion teaches us not to trust it and to doubt it. And so, freeing yourself, however subtle or unconscious they are, from those beliefs is stage one. Two, finding a way to feed your voracious appetite for the new and different in constructive ways. And a big part of that, like fifth house, the house of love affairs, right? A big part of that are the people you fall in love with, okay? Because you're going to attract these larger than life people, and they're going to encourage you to break the rules. But are they breaking the rules just to break the rules, or are they helping you break the rules that you need to break to find your own unique path? And it's Jupiter. So again, you'll recognize these people because it'll be an adventure. All right. That's what I got. Any questions?
Fascinating. Just fascinating.
Yeah, there's so much more, but I think this is a good intro.
I'd love to be able to get a copy of that.
Yeah, so I recorded this. I'll send you the recording as soon as it uploads on the computer.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the inner chart here is where the planets were when you were born. The outer chart is where the planets are now, and this gives us an idea of which part of the chart is really being stimulated into development and growth right now. Really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. Well, thank you guys. This was fun. And
thank you, Ricky.
So much. It was really cool. I'm next.
Oh, good. Can't wait.
Yeah.
You guys have a wonderful Christmas Eve and take care.
Yeah, you too. Merry Christmas.
Appreciate all you do, man. Keep it up. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.